Right, what's happening, everyone? Yeah, this is the long-awaited new series called Lock Up, yeah? And, oh, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy right now. What's happening is I'm coming in straight with this one now. This is the first episode, right? So make sure you watch this episode to understand what happened. Now, what you've got to understand also is I took this on the chin. I took it on the chin because I'm not a grass, yeah? I took it on the chin and no one else got nicked except for me. I was the only person who got nicked for this, right? And you know what? I've been away for like 2 years, right? I've been on remand for 2 years, and I got to trial and I had to plead guilty in the end because they just had all kinds on me, and it was just silly mistakes, and it was out of emotions. I'd done something heavy out of emotions, right? And I deserve to get slammed, right? I deserve it. I'm looking about a 40. So I'm sitting in my pads. I've been away for 2 years. I'm sitting in my pads. I'm my court trials tomorrow. The sentences tomorrow, and I've got this judge, and this judge is supposed to be proper heavy, and I'm just like, and my brief saying to me, lad, you're looking at 40, and that's only if the judge gives you the concurrent. Do you know what I mean? If he goes to consecutive, lad, you're done, you know. And I'm like, he's like, lad, 3 charges. You're on 3 attempted murders. And then the drugs and that, but the drug is not, do you know what I mean? It was not, it was only like 100 gram of limo and all this, and a bit of weed and a bit of brown, but I weren't really asked with that, but they just nicked me. When they nicked me, they just called me and just called me off guard, and all, they had pieces and all that, so I just thought, I'm not even stashing on, because if you try and start stashing things, you're just getting about 5 when you're right, so I'm just lying there and I'm thinking, do you know what I mean? Now, Jodie's my bird, and she's like, I'll wait for you. She's not going to wait for me, mate. She's not going to wait for me if I get about a 40. There's no way, do you know what I mean? There's no way. So let's see what happens. So I can't sleep, right? I get up in the morning and the screw comes, he's like, come on, lad, you going yet? So just on the sweat bus and all that, just flying to the court, and I'm just thinking, there's absolutely no way I'm getting less than a 40 for this, you know? So, no one actually died, but it's not the point, is it? You know what I mean? The judge just looks at you like, you're a rat, you're a gangulated rat, and this, that. So he's definitely going to slam me, but let's see what happens. So I walked into the court, right, and I've just got my head down and all that, and I've wrote him a letter, and I've got like me nan to write him a letter, and I've got other people to write him letters, but these letters are going nowhere on these charges, you know what I mean? So they're going nowhere, right? So let's just see what happens in court now, yeah. I'm expecting a 40, parole after like probably 36 or something like that. So, my life's over, innit? I didn't kill no one, but I could have. And to be fair, I would have. I tried to. There's no doubt about it. I tried to, but the little rats they've come across in court, although they're the victim, the little rats, right? But I'll tell you what happened later when I get back to the jail, right? I'm just going to go to this court now and see what happens yet, but I'll tell you what happens after it, right? Let's just see what happens here, because I know I'm getting slammed and I know my life's over, but it's not just my life that's over. It's like me ma's, me nan's, my family's, my birds, I've wrecked everything. Now, I've been sitting on it for like 2 years on remand, so I'm ready for it. Anything less than a 40, and I'll be happy with it, you know what I mean? Anything less than a 40. Bad shouts them, aren't they? But I'm banged to rights, and I'm just going to get slammed. So walks in the court, sits down, and then boom.
Convicted by the jury of 3 counts of attempted murder. Sadly, this is yet another case of very serious violence involving the use of firearms between street gangs within this city. Gang violence is a scourge of this city, as it is elsewhere. This was a planned attack. During the afternoon 2023, I make it clear the victim was a wholly innocent victim and wasn't a member of any gang. You, however, knew that members of the rival gang would be in attendance, and you and others planned an attack. A car was stolen, a gun and ammunition was obtained. The car was positioned in a quiet residential area away from prying eyes. You left your top coat and your phone with another gang member to avoid being tracked or otherwise identified, and you then made your way to your target. You clearly were not alone. You were, on the evidence, the backseat passenger and the gunman. You left fibres from your clothing on the back seat and gunshot residue on your gloves, and you drove past to make sure everyone was there. They were. The car slowed down, and you then, as graphically shown on the CCTV, fired 4 times at the crowd from a distance of no more than half the width of the road. You then accelerated away. Of the 4 shots you fired, 3 struck home. The bullet passed through his left arm before entering his chest, where it lodged. It fractured 2 of his ribs. There was damage to the lung tissue and associated muscle. There was bleeding into the chest, and an operation had to be performed to remove the bullet. You and your accomplice returned to where the car had been, recovered your telephone and coat, and were taken away from that area by another gang member. The car was subsequently moved and abandoned elsewhere. The gun, scientific evidence relating to the spent cartridges indicate that it was likely a re-barreled 9mm pistol, has never been recovered. There was overwhelming evidence before the jury that you were a member of a street gang. When you were arrested, you were also found to be in possession of Class A drugs, and you pleaded guilty on the first day of your trial to 2 counts of possessing Class A drugs, a little over 100 grams of cocaine and a similar amount of heroin, and also cannabis, Class B, all with the intention to supply. That also related to your gang activities. Against that background, I now turn to the Sentencing Council guidelines. Each of the 3 counts of attempted murder involved the use of a firearm and are therefore of very high culpability. The starting point, therefore, for count 1 is one of 30 years imprisonment, and in relation to counts 2 and 3, a starting point of 25 years. There are significant aggravating factors. As is clear, this attack involves significant planning, both to commit and to try and escape detection. It's right that the public know that this involved a long and very detailed police investigation involving over 1,000 hours of viewing CCTV in order to identify and track you. It was painstakingly and accurately done, such that at your trial, challenge was only of a few moments of it, and the police are to be commended for the thoroughness of the investigation in this case. As to the drugs, it's agreed that in relation to Class A drugs, their Category 3 significant role with a starting point of each of 4.5 years imprisonment and 1 year in relation to the cannabis. The aggravating factors are your previous drug convictions. I now turn to mitigation. I've read the letter you sent to me and the 3 references sent on your behalf. In relation to the letter, despite the overwhelming evidence, it's clear you continue to deny involvement and therefore have showed no remorse for your actions. You have previous convictions. I accept they are for supplying drugs and not for violence. Having considered all of the evidence and having seen you give evidence, I do consider that in your case you remain some way from full maturity. That reduces your culpability, and therefore that must be reflected in the sentence passed. I have to balance all of those factors. To begin with, in relation to count 1, there is, as I've said, a 30-year starting point. There are significant aggravating factors that I have identified. Apart from your age that I will come to, the only mitigation is that you have no previous convictions for violence, but that can only have a limited effect given the offences that you have actually committed. Before reduction for age, the shortest sentence on count 1, standing alone, that I could impose, 34 years imprisonment. And in relation to counts 2 and 3, the sentences on each would have to be in the region of 27 years in relation to each. I then, however, have to have regard to totality. That means adding all those sentences together would lead to an obviously disproportionate sentence. I accept also that whilst these are separate offences, they were in fact committed within seconds of each other and were all part of the same incident. And I therefore have to look at that incident, consider each of the offences, but then determine what is the appropriate sentence that properly reflects the seriousness of what took place. In my judgment, the shortest total sentence to reflect the overall criminality in the case of a mature adult would have been one of 42 years imprisonment. For the reasons I have set out, I reduce that sentence in your case by 1/6, a significant reduction to reflect your age and maturity at the time you committed these offences. That means the total determinate term for these offences would be 35 years imprisonment. I must deal also with the drugs at this stage. In relation to the Class A drugs offence, the overall sentence for them would have been 5 years, reduced to 4, having regard to the factors I've just set out. You eventually pleaded guilty to those offences and therefore entitled to a reduction of 1/6, which would result in a sentence of 3 years and 4 months. And the sentence in relation to the cannabis will be 12 months. However, I again have to have regard to totality. It's a very long sentence that has to be imposed for the offences of attempted murder, and I would therefore significantly reduce the sentences in relation to your drug offending. Given all of your offending arises from gang membership, I would reflect the drugs offences by increasing the total sentence for the shootings by 1 year to reflect the totality of the criminality for the associated drugs offences, which would result in a total determinate term of 36 years imprisonment. I now have to consider whether you represent a danger to the public. Namely, is there a significant risk of you causing serious harm to the public by committing further specified offences? I have to consider first the nature of these offences. This was a determined attempt to murder a number of people. You in fact fired 4 shots, although only 3 struck targets. It's remarkable that 1 or more were not killed. To make such an attack demonstrates that you had no regard at all for human life. The offences are undoubtedly so serious that a life sentence would be appropriate. I accept you have no previous convictions for violence, but your drug convictions also reflect your deep involvement in gang culture. Given your involvement in these offences, you clearly represent a very grave danger to the public. And given the gravity of the offences, no realistic estimate can be given of the time for which you will remain such a danger. I'm also satisfied that there is no available alternative sentence. In those circumstances, I'm satisfied that the only sentence that can be imposed on each of these counts is one of life imprisonment. That means what it says. You will remain in prison for life unless the parole board is satisfied that a time has come when you no longer represent any danger to the public. In that regard, I have to set a minimum term that you must serve before the parole board can consider your case. I'm required to set that minimum term as representing 2/3 of the notional determinate term which I would have imposed otherwise, which, as I've explained, would have been 36 years. So can you stand, please? The sentence on counts 1, 2 and 3 concurrently is one of life imprisonment with a minimum term of 24 years. You have been in custody for 680 days. That will count towards the term, and I'm required by law to state what the minimum term is now, today, taking into account the time already served. The minimum term from today is therefore 21 years and 150 days. There will be concurrent sentences of 3 years and 4 months for counts 5 and 6, the Class A drugs, and 12 months on count 7, the cannabis. There'll be destruction and forfeiture of the drugs and paraphernalia recovered, and the victim impact surcharge will apply.
Know what? That's sound. That's all 25 years, yeah. 25 years. I'm expecting a 40, you know what I mean? So 25 years, then you're eligible for parole, do you know what I mean? So, I'll be sad, I'll be good for like the last 10 years or like that, you know what I mean? It is rough, it is heavy and that, but it's not really considered, you know what I mean? It was my own fault, I shouldn't have done what I did, but it was just emotions, like I said, I've just started letting off, haven't I? Just like not asked, just all in, and you're not asked, right? That's what it was for, because I feel like I was right to do it, but maybe it wasn't as I'm reflecting on it, you know what I mean? Because a couple of them were just there because they were just like association, but it is what it is. We all make mistakes, and this is the biggest mistake I've made in my life, innit? You know what I mean? It's the biggest mistake in my life. Now I've saved 2 years, so I've got 25 to go. That's like a 12th. I've saved like a 12th or a 13th of what I've got to do. That's heavy. There's no way my bird's going to stay with me. There's absolutely, can't even expect it to. You know what I mean? You think you are, that you think your bird's going to stand up. It's just after it. So I've got family, I've got Joe, so let's just go. I'm going to have to start spinning pure swag, aren't I, from jail, you know what I mean? Just trying to, I can't stop doing what I'm doing. I've still got to do what I'm doing, haven't I? Do you know what I mean? But, I've got a leg to stand on, I don't know, but I have got a brief, and this brief's from Manny, and he's like one of them briefs, he's like liar, do you know what I mean? That's what he's like, so I'll get him, he'll bill me about $1/4 but I'm not asked, I'll pay it, do you know what I mean? I'll pay it. He will bill me heavy, but if anyone's got a chance, he's got a chance, do you know what I mean? He's got a chance. He's walked himself on like 4 murders and he's a brief. Do you know what I mean? 2 plods went into his office, and he ended up just breaking one of the chins and just like fractured the other one's fucking whatever, and he walked on that as well. So, this kid's on it, but he's my only hope now. 25 years, it's heavy, but it's not heavy, because I was expecting 40. Do you see what I mean? So I set the bar a bit higher, because my brief was saying 35. He was saying, you'll do 35. I was like, well, yeah. So I set the bar and I'll do 40. So I was convinced I'll do a 40. Do you know what I mean? I'll do 40 years. And if I'm still alive, I'll get out. Yeah, age, I've got the better of age, because, my head's gone. So I'm just down in the dungeons in the court, and I'm just thinking, no way, you've just been hit with a 25. Now, let this be a lesson to you, right? Don't be like me. Don't be stupid like what I did. I went all in, right? I didn't even plan it properly. I got nicked on loads of stupid things what I shouldn't have. If my head was straight and I didn't act on emotion and I was still going to do it, then I should have done it like after it, after the event, but I didn't. I just went all in straight away, because I was like, no, what, you cheated. So it's my own fault, really, but everyone else got away, do you know what I mean? He's saying there was only another driver the way, there was 4 of us, do you know what I mean? But obviously it is what it is, so I'm not going to get asked on no one, but all the lads, like, they're just like, lads, what's happening, you know what I mean? We look after your ma, we look after everything, like that. Yeah, sounds, they're probably looking after your bed as well, though, that's the problem, do you know what I mean? You've got to think about that. So my head's gone now, so what's the right thing to do? I'll just swerve her, let her get on with her life. She's not going to sit down for 25 years waiting for me, is she? I'm going to be a different person by the time she gets out. I'm going to be the same person. Do you know what I mean? It's inevitable, isn't it? So I'm going to have to just let her go, aren't I? You know what I mean? I'm going to have to just let her go. It's going to break me heart, but, I've been sitting on it for 2 years, so I'm half on what's going on, do you know what I mean? And where I am now, as long as I don't get moved from where I am now, it'll be sad, but I reckon I'm going to get moved as well, aren't I? Because, once you go over the man and you get proper slammed, you're just lifed off, basically, aren't you? And because of the events and because of, like, the seriousness of it, could even end up in a double cat A yet, you know what I mean? I don't know what's going on, but only time will tell. Where I am now, I'm on remand, it's alright, I've got it not on lockers, but I've got it boxed, you know what I mean? And I'm on everyone, but I hope I just don't get it proper shipped out, you know what I mean? Just down south or whatever, up, do you know what? It is what it is, but let's just see what happens, you make your bed, you've got to lie in it, so I've made my bed, now I've got to lie in it now. You know what, to be fair though, it is a good job no one died, because if they would have died, I just got proper slammed even more. Now it's life-changing injuries, the kid's like, he can't walk, they start, they die. You know what, honest to God, you know what I'm thinking in my head now? When I get out, I'm going to finish it off, lad. Nah, but I'm sure my mentality will change by that moment, so let's see what happens. But I am wounded, I'm not in the mood, I'm just wounded. So Sweatbox comes and all that, gets back, goes back to the pad and all that. I'm just waiting for someone to come and say to me, lad, you're getting moved tomorrow, but no one else. So I'm sitting there and my pad mate, I'm like, lad, he's going, well, that's better than what you're taught. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And, we're just talking. And he's going, wow, what's it feel like to get slammed, lad? I'm like, lads, I said I was expecting it, so it's not like the blue, and I knew what I was doing, do you know what I mean? Because I've ducked and dodged busies all my life, and then I just did that, and it was stupid. I just made silly mistakes, and I know I'm explaining that, but I half panicked a little bit, do you know what I mean? Because when I was letting shots off and that, I didn't know where the shots were going because there was people everywhere. So I seen a few people like, I was thinking, no way. Have I just ricochets, or has it gone through someone, has it got them? And I was wounded a little bit off it, so I was waiting, I was looking at the news and I was waiting for them, thinking, if I've done anything to someone like, like a kid or something like that, then I'll just have myself in. But, luckily I never. I got 3 of them, do you know what I mean? I got 3 out of 4 isn't bad. Do you know what I mean? But the other one, it just went straight, didn't it? So let's see what happens. And he never got the piece because I stashed the piece in that, and they never got no one else. So I'm going to have to just tell you the whole story, aren't I? So this is the present now, and I've just been slammed, right? So I'm sitting in my pad now. I'm going to go into the story. I'm going to start from the very, very beginning of what happens and why I was so laxy-daisy, because I was laxy-daisy, do you know what I mean? And do you know what? When you're playing around with plot like that, they do this all the time. You're not clever. You've got to plan it strategically, and I didn't. I just went all in. I was all in. I just seen red, and I was all in, and I didn't care about none. I didn't care about the consequences.